In today's video, we're talking cardio. Welcome to the video, guys. My name is Tyler, also known as the Fit Chemist. If you are new here, I help people take control of their lives by taking control of their fitness and nutrition habits so that ultimately we can lead a healthier, happier life. So if you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bells on, and if you're returning, welcome back. I'm so glad you're here. So today we're going to continue with part 5 of the How to Diet series. So in parts 1 through 4, we went over, what is our metabolism? How do we calculate our maintenance calories? How do we figure out how many calories we should be eating to lose weight? And then how to find our macros for those calories. So there's one thing that we've left out until this point, and you guys are probably wondering what that is. Well, it's cardio. So you might be wondering why I left this all the way to part 5, because typically when someone says, I'm going to start losing weight, what's the first thing they do? They go out, they get on the treadmill, they go outside, they start running miles and miles, and some people have success with that, but hopefully after watching the videos today, you'll understand why they have success with that. And I really hate to break it to you guys, cardio is just not that important. In fact, you can lose weight without doing any cardio at all. In my last prep, I didn't start doing cardio till maybe the last 3 or 4 weeks, and even when I did cardio, it was like a 10-minute walk outside. It was nothing major at all. So you can create a calorie deficit strictly through your nutrition. If we think back to part 1, when we explained our metabolism or total daily energy expenditure, one of those components was exercise activity. So when someone goes out and they start running all these miles, they're increasing their exercise activity, so that's obviously going to increase our total daily energy expenditure, or how many calories we are burning. So essentially, doing cardio is a tool to help us create that calorie deficit. Let's say an individual goes through my previous videos and they find out that they need to have a 500 calorie deficit per day to lose weight at their desired rate of weight loss. Well, we can look at 3 options here. So let's create a 500 calorie deficit. And option 1, let's say 400 calories from that deficit are going to be from food. So we're going to eat 400 less calories, and we're going to burn 100 calories from exercise. If we total that up, that's a 500 calorie deficit. Alternatively, we could have it an equal split. We could have 250 calories come from food, or eat 250 calories less and then burn 250 calories from exercise. Or a third option could be something like 100 calories from food and then we have 400 calories from exercise. Personally, I wouldn't recommend that last option because you're going to be doing a lot of cardio, but I guess the one upside of that is that you're still eating a pretty decent amount of food. And I do want to point out that that third scenario is where most people fall in, right? When they go out and they start doing all this exercise, they're helping create that deficit solely through exercise without really changing their nutrition. Again, I just want to reiterate that cardio and exercise is a way to help us create a calorie deficit. It is a tool and nothing more. If you don't want to go out and run hours and hours and hours, do not do it. You can create a calorie deficit through nutrition. So with that out of the way, I want to go over some frequently asked questions, clear up some misconceptions. I have some awesome references for you guys that will hopefully do just that. So with that, let's get into it. I hope you guys don't mind, but I do have my computer with me because I do not want to get what these studies say wrong. So to answer this first question, we should probably explain the difference between HIIT and LISS. So HIIT, or high intensity interval training, is doing high intensity work for something like maybe 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, or whatever interval that you want to set up. Whereas LISS, or low intensity steady state, it's typically what most people do, walking on the treadmill, going for a bike ride, swimming, the elliptical, all sorts of things. But to answer this question, really, we need to look at a study by Wewij that found that there were no significant differences between HIIT and moderate intensity cardio training, so that's what MICT means, for any body composition measure, but HIIT required 40% less training time commitment. So what is that telling us? Per unit of time, HIIT is more efficient. It will burn more fat. Think of 30 minutes doing intense sprints versus 30 minutes for a leisurely walk outside. Of course you're gonna burn more calories, right? That makes sense. The one thing that I wanna point out is that HIIT can impair recovery, so it is high intensity work. So I guess you sort of have to weigh it out, right? If you're someone who's really short on time, HIIT might be for you, but if you're someone who has a lot of time in the day, you don't want to do high intensity work, or like me, I'm personally more interested in lifting, and I'd rather see my energy get devoted towards that. So I don't really want to be doing high intensity workouts, especially if it does put me at a risk for injury. So I'm not saying that's the case for everyone, but basically the studies show that there's no difference for fat loss, so pick whichever one is suitable for you. And I will note again, I'm a big fan of lifestyle cardio, so I bike into work. After lunch, I'll go for a 10 or 15 minute walk. Maybe one day I'll take the stairs up to the 8th floor. Little things like that where you can sort of add activity into your day, I think will go way further in the long run, as opposed to like, oh man, I gotta get up and do 40 minutes on the elliptical this morning. Like personally, I hate the thought of that. So if you can incorporate, getting more steps in, being active, I would say that would be a great option to do. I would say it's probably best to do your cardio on something like a rest day. So let's say you have a 4-day program of lifting, you have 3 rest days. You can make one of those or 2 of those a cardio day, depending on how much cardio you're doing. And I would say it's probably best, if you are going to do it on those lifting days, to do it after. So if we take a look at this study published by HIIT, they found that individuals who wish to perform strength and endurance in close proximity to each other over prolonged training periods are encouraged to choose the training order based on individual goals. So they essentially looked at the effects of strength and endurance training, time of day that they're doing it, and the order in which they did it. And essentially what they found, which is whichever one comes first, you're gonna get more adaptations too. And that intuitively makes sense, right? If I'm going into a workout and I have more energy and I start with strength training, I'm gonna give more energy to that strength training and I'll be fatigued by the time I get to endurance training. So if you're someone like me, do your cardio after strength training because getting big is the main goal. But if you're an endurance runner and you don't really care that much about strength training, do your running first or whatever cardio you're doing first and then come back to the strength training. No, fasted cardio is not better than fed cardio for fat loss. So it might be true that during a fasted cardio session, you're burning more fat because you haven't given your body carbs or glucose to burn through during that workout, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna burn more fat throughout the day. So there's sort of a simple analogy to think about this. If you think of a factory that manufactures ships and airplanes, and let's say one day in the morning they come in and there's a high demand for ships, they're gonna start making ships. Or let's say they come in and there's a high demand for airplanes, then they're gonna start making airplanes. So if you're fasted, there's gonna be a higher demand for fat from your body because you haven't given your body the carbs to process and use as glucose. So your body will burn more fat during that session. But alternatively, if you go in and do a fed session, you'll probably burn more carbs during that session. So it evens out over the course of the day. Whichever one that you burn in the morning, you'll sort of burn less of during the day, and your body sort of like balances it out, if that makes sense. Furthermore, we can look at a study published by Paoli in 2014, and what they found. From a practical point of view, the results obtained in the study suggest that over long periods, exercising after breakfast would be more effective than fasted training to lose weight through the increased metabolism and reduced RER, or respiratory exchange rate. So this paper published actually slightly favors having fed cardio. So again, I hate seeing physique athletes that are like, oh man, I gotta do 60 minutes of cardio, fasted cardio today, like it's gonna burn all this fat. Like that's not necessarily true. Can you do it? Sure. Do you have to? No. Furthermore, I want to point out a meta-analysis published by Hackett and some of his co-workers. So in their conclusion, they said, furthermore, performing exercise in a fasted state did not influence weight loss or changes in lean and fat mass. These findings support the notion that weight loss and fat loss from exercise is more likely to be enhanced through creating a meaningful, you guessed it, calorie deficit. There are a couple of ways you can go about tracking your cardio. So one would be tracking your total steps. Most devices and Apple Watch, Fitbits, whatever you can wear on your wrist, they will track your steps for you, and just being consistent with your steps, I think that's a great way to do it. One way you could do it is to track calories burned through whatever cardio you're doing, like the machine says. Personally, I don't like this option because there's a lot of variables that go into it. For example, which machine were you using? So maybe one day you want to go on the treadmill, and one day you could do the elliptical. Like those are going to give different readouts. Maybe you're on a different elliptical and you're sticking with the elliptical, but just because they're different machines, they might have different readouts. Like there are honestly too many variables that go into this for me to warrant tracking this way. If you want to do it that way, you can, but there are better ways to do that. I'd recommend the steps or this third option. Personally, what I like to do, if you've downloaded my calorie tracking spreadsheet, you'll see on the progress tab, I have 2 columns for HIIT and LISS. And basically what I do is I track the amount of minutes that I've done for that particular week. And I think it's a good way of doing this because you can very easily assess and make changes when you stall out and you plateau in your weight loss. So let's say I'm doing 20 minutes of HIIT and 60 minutes of LISS. I could very easily add in 10 minutes of HIIT to bring that up to 30 minutes a day, or 30 minutes total for the week, and then maybe go to like 80 minutes of LISS over the course of the week. And maybe that'll be enough to get me going on fat loss. But if you're just tracking calories burned from workout to workout, and then if you stall out, how do you really assess your progress and make adjustments from there? So personally, I would recommend either tracking your steps and just being consistent with that. Set a step goal for the day. When I'm moving and about, I try to hit 10K a day. I think that's a good goal, but I realize not everyone can hit that goal. But pick whatever you want, be consistent with how you track it, and that's gonna give you the best results in the long term. So hopefully I've answered your guys' questions and cleared up any myths revolving around cardio. But as always, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. The last thing that I want to reiterate again is that the most important thing for losing weight is a calorie deficit, and cardio is just simply a tool that we can use to help us create that deficit. Do not overcomplicate it, guys. That's all there is to it. And just a friendly reminder, down below I have some freebies for you. I have my calorie tracking spreadsheet and also my nutrition calculators, so go download those now. Alright guys, that is it for today's video. If you liked it, please do give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments down below. And again, if you are someone who just loves taking control of their life, every single aspect in detail, and we're going to start that with our fitness and nutrition habits, hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bells on so you do not miss when I post a new video. And with that, I'll see you in the next video.